Welcome to this episode of The Corporate Bowl, where I sit down with global founders, CEOs, and leaders to talk about how to operate at the highest level. Today we're here with Frederikke Antonie Schmidt, if I say it correctly, the founder and creative director of Roccamore.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's jump straight into it. Take me back to the moment where you thought of the idea of starting this shoe brand and this entire concept.
Yeah. So my company does comfortable high heels. So the idea is that I took the inside of a sneaker and put it into a high-heeled shoe that was built in the same way that other shoes on the market are built. So it's pretty, it looks pretty, but it's comfortable on the inside. So that combination hadn't really been done before in the same extent that what we ended up doing with Roccamore. And it just came from a personal need. I am an educated shoe designer. I used to work in Italy, and I would stand around in high heels all day long and have pain everywhere. And I have a lot of pain in my body. So I have a dislocated hip, and I have discus prolapse in my back, and I have all of these issues. And I just, it doesn't really help if you wear 12 centimeter high heels. So I decided to make a better one, and I did. I created a shoe that was better to walk in, and I got it scientifically validated from one of the biggest hospitals here in Denmark, Hvidovre Hospital, to be better than regular high heels. And then I couldn't get funding for it, so then I put it on Kickstarter, and I got funding, and then boom, I had a company.
Yeah, that's actually a smart way to do it, because then you also see there's proof, right? People actually want it before you start building the concept, building the company,
yes.
Right?
It is very easy to sell something to your friends or to people around you. But until they took money out of their pocket, you can't really, let's say, count on the fact that they want your product.
So the fashion industry is no joke. It's a tough industry. So take me back to the hardest and the early days. What kind of kept you going and kept you not stuck at the starter entry level?
Yeah, so it took about 4 years before I considered myself an entrepreneur. And it was only because other people kept calling me that in the end, I sort of just, accepted it. Like, all right, okay, so we'll say that. But I didn't really consider myself an entrepreneur, and I didn't consider this company to be a real thing. It was more like a project or just something we did for fun, for kicks, for seeing what happened. While time passed. And then I think that's what saved me, because if I'd been too serious from the beginning with a whole business plan and building up budgets and running for numbers that I didn't know how to get, I would have crashed really early, because that is what brings people down. It's not the amount of hours that you work, or at least in my opinion, but more the feeling that you're not good enough. So if you make a budget where you have to reach some super high goals and then you don't reach them month after month after month, then you feel like crap. Then you are a failure in your own mind because you couldn't reach the number that you put on paper. So if you don't have a number, then there is no such thing as failing it, because you don't know what the expectation was. So it will always be better. So I think that saved me. I got quite far before I actually accepted being both an entrepreneur and having a company.
It's a nice mindset to have, because many have the other opposite, where they look at all of the plans and strategies and that's,
that being said, you also don't have to be too naive, and of course you need some sort of a business plan, right? You don't just jump into it with all your money. So I knew what I wanted to do, sort of, but I kept it at this we're just playing level for a very long time.
The fun level kind of.
It's just a project.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just see.
Do you remember your first sale? And do you remember the moment?
No, but I remember the first time I saw a woman in Copenhagen wearing my shoes.
How was that moment for you?
That was insane. I was on a bike and she was on a bike ahead of me, and we were going one way, one direction in the city. That was the opposite direction that the one I was supposed to go in. I had a meeting and I completely forgot, because all I wanted to do was to take a picture of this woman on her bike with my shoes, and she was faster than me. So she got quite far before I managed to take a picture of her. And when I think back, often I think it must have been the weirdest experience in the world, to be riding your bike in your own thoughts, and then this weird woman is just following you with a camera out, or like a phone out, that's trying to take pictures. But I managed to take a picture, and and I arrived late at my meeting, but I was really happy. It was a good feeling. It was the first time I saw somebody who I didn't know wearing my shoes, and up until then, I didn't really believe that my shoes were good enough, that my product was good enough. I thought people were doing me a favor by buying it or wearing it. So seeing somebody that I truly didn't know was sort of a confirmation that, okay, people will buy this.
And I guess that also fueled your journey from there.
Yeah.
And kind of gave you that confidence boost in the product and in the company and in the...
I don't think I've ever had the confidence boosts. I think I'm not the type to get these like, poof, wow, everything worked, like cartoon feeling, right? But it's more of like a little by little, you know, you take one step and you take one more and you take one more. And if you don't focus too much of the entire journey, like the whole year or like back to the plan and the budget, then it feels okay to take a couple of steps. But if you look at all the steps together, it doesn't feel okay. It feels scary.
Long term is always scarier thinking about, right? So I guess there's a lot of people who said it's not possible. Right?
Yeah,
it can't
always.
happen. It's not possible. What's like a mindset or belief that kind of drove you through it? This it's not possible, and there's people saying it can't happen. It's never going to be anything. Like how did you do it?
So the first time I tried to produce my shoes, I had extensive network and experience in working in the shoe industry in Italy. And I spoke the language. So I thought it wouldn't be that big of a deal to find somebody to produce it for me. But I was met with, at the time I was, 30, I think, 31 or something. So I was relatively young, very, very blonde at the time, and running around in Italy with my little shoe design, as somebody called it. So nobody took me serious. And they all sort of said, if this was such a good idea, somebody else would have done it before. AKA, you can't be the first person to have thought of something innovative. So either it's a crap idea or other people have made it first. So being met with this wall of just people not wanting to see the light of my invention, also most of them being men, so not wearing high heels and not understanding the issue, sort of took all of my spirit from me. And then I remember I met a person who knew a person who knew another person, so a friend of a friend of a friend, who worked at the Spanish embassy in Denmark. And so randomly I sat down at a dinner with her, and she told me that because the Italian embassy, or the Danish embassy in Rome is really expensive if you want help from them, but the Spanish embassy in Denmark will help you for free. And so then I gave up in Italy and I went to Spain, and I don't know if they were much nicer, but they were willing to work with me. And so my first production was actually in Spain.
Let's talk a little bit more about the fashion industry. Because it's a complex industry and it's a tough industry. What do you think is a misconception many people have about the fashion industry?
A lot of people think it's all parties and cute people walking around in high heels and nice outfits. Most of my day is, a little less now because I've hired people who are better than me at that job, but most of my days used to be factory work and a bunch of old men. So old in terms of mentality more than age. I think people are in Italy that work in the production or in the fashion industry are all men, and they are all plus 60. But it's not so much the age in itself, it's the mentality. Like they might as well have been 200 years old because they've always done this. They've done this since they were 11 years old, and this is the way it's supposed to be done. We've always done it this way. There was no reason to change this because it always worked. So working with them is just, in Danish we say uphill. It's just, oh my God, it's so much work going uphill because you have to just drag them with you and force them to see the point of things. And in many cases, you actually have to make them think that it's their idea because otherwise they won't make it. So several of the people in my value chain that are from way back when I started still believe that we've developed this together, or they developed it and I just profited on it, which is not at all the case. But that was the only way I could get them to work with me. So a lot of people think it's very sexy to be in fashion, but it's really a lot of hard work with a lot of very square-minded people.
Yeah, and I think also you see that now where there's a lot of people starting their own clothing brand. especially from a young age, right? Because they see all of this clothes on social media and stuff like that, and it looks nice life and fancy and all stuff.
Yeah. We also don't need more products. We need better products. So if you want to do something, you should do it better than the ones that are already there. You shouldn't do your take on something that is already existing because nobody cares about your take. You're not that important. And I think most people should realize that early on, because then they could actually create innovation that would make a difference and not just something that would elevate their own confidence or make them feel great because they are the top designer of a, one-person company.
Yeah, that's also what I was going to ask you. I would say to people who are just entering the fashion industry and wanted to make a brand.
Make a difference. Don't make a brand, make a difference, and then that will become your brand.
Let's talk a bit marketing, because that's also a huge part, especially of fashion. What's the best ad or kind of campaign you have done and why?
Depends how you measure it. So best in terms of sales or best in terms of awareness, because they aren't the same. If you go for awareness, which in my book will lead to more sales, so should be more valuable in theory. Not sure if it is in practice, because you can't control who saw it. And if it's not the people who will buy it that saw it, then it doesn't matter. Then 10 million people saw it if none of them are interested in your product. But in Denmark, 3.3 million people saw one of our campaigns. And that's by far the highest we've ever reached. And it was the one about women in boards. So we did a campaign called Respect High Heels in the Boardroom. And at the time, it was 19% women on Danish boards. And so I made a picture, that's 1 out of 5. So I made a picture, 5 pictures with 4 men and 1 woman sitting on a chair wearing high heels and then saying respect high heels in the boardroom, because we need more than 1 out of 5 women to sit on boards. There are many reasons for that. But what was interesting was that the men who sat on the campaign weren't people who had figured it out already. So they didn't have the solution, but they wanted to be part of the solution. So they sat on boards that weren't perfectly 50-50 or 40-60, but they offered their opinions as to why that was the case and how we could solve it. So people got pissed because, first of all, they didn't feel that it was allowed to talk about a topic if you haven't solved it yet. And since they hadn't, that was a big problem. Then I chose some pretty prominent people. So they had long careers of a lot of very interesting titles and places they've worked. And some of them were old ministers from the government, and other people were working for the big, very big corporations and stuff. So a lot of people along their career just sort of came up for this campaign with very strong opinions about whether or not you can be an Minister of Justice and then sit on a poster for a shoe brand in high heels and talk about women on boards. So their whole story sort of got dragged out and used against them. But the good thing about the campaign was that 3.3 million saw it for very, very few money. And we actually managed to create change. So not only was, in my opinion, this one of the beginning touch points of the real conversation in Denmark. This was 2 years ago, about the whole idea of 40-60% women, so 40% women, 60% men on boards, which is what is the replica of the working force. We have 40% women working, 60% men. So if you want a 1-to-1, represent the working force on the boards, that's the number you want on the boards, not 50-50. So it was one of the starting points. It kickstarted a lot of debate, and it was, I think it was very elegantly executed, but I'm also not at all objective because I made it. But I think it was executed really well because obviously everybody understood it was a shoe commercial and it came from Roccamore. But even without talking too much about the shoes, we were always involved. So it was sort of like it was a branding exercise with a secondary marketing campaign, and that's the best ones, so that you don't, I hate the campaigns that are sort of like, come and buy something, 2 for 1's price or whatever. That's ridiculous. But if you manage to make a brand moment and you put your product in the middle, then it's almost, like the Xerox back in the days, it became a verb. So a Xerox machine became something you would do. You would Xerox something. Like then it's almost sort of that feeling that you build into your brand. I'm not there yet at all at the Xerox level, but that's what I'm hoping or aspiring to be.
Why do you think it did so well? Was it because of the message and the story? Or the controversy?
So if you can be provocative, people will have strong opinions and they will hunt you down until they made sure that their opinion is all over every little inch of your feed. which is not what I was going for, but apparently that is the truth.
Yeah, apparently so. What's your view on trends? Because a lot of people have different views on trends because either you follow them or you go the opposite direction. What do you do at Roccamore?
So we don't have the classical seasons. We don't do summer and winter and 4 collections a year. We do a small collection every month, and we drop it every month. It's 3 to 5 models, and they are all limited edition. All of the shoes that aren't black are limited edition. So when they sell out, they sell out, and there is only that batch existing in the world. And we will number them in many cases. So you can see you got number 1 out of 112 or something, and then number 2 and 3, which is fun. And then if it's a huge success, I might remake it, but then the color will be a little bit different because I can't get the same material. I buy material that is already printed in the world, and so that red, for instance, it's not a red that I made. So if I have to find a red that looks like it again, I just have to sort of take what's there and then the one that's the closest to. So it won't be the exact same red color for the shoes. But trends it's something that you can't not do, but you also shouldn't enslave yourself to them. If you want to it depends on what parameters you want to compete. So I want to compete on quality. Our shoes are really top quality. They're made by some of the best shoemakers in the world. They're made in the same place that Valentino and Ferragamo makes their shoes, and they cost a third of that. So I want to offer you the same quality, but at a price that you can afford it. And I know that it's a lot of money, but it's not expensive if you look at how we made the shoe and what materials are. Then I want to make sure that the value chain is transparent. So I don't believe in sustainability as a production company. If you're producing something, then by definition, you can't be sustainable, because being sustainable is using what is already there. It's not by producing new. You will damage the world if you produce. Doesn't matter if you compensate it, you still damaged it. So what I'm trying to do instead is to make my value chain much better than everyone else's value chain, and I made it transparent. So every part of the life journey that it takes from from your finished shoe. If you take the shoe, a lot of them will have QR codes, and you can scan it with your phone, and it will show you all the data points and all the pit stops the shoe made all the way back to the actual cow on the field. And you can see that cow was Danish and that it had a good life, and it was, on grass every summer, and somebody ate the whole animal. So everything was used. It wasn't just grown for its material, which in other parts of the world, you will grow cows. Of course, you don't grow cows, but you will raise cows. What do you say? You will have a cow get bigger for its material. So I want to show that that's not how we work, and I want to show that we're doing it well, and I want to show that every people who work for us throughout the value chain are being, compensated fairly, and that they have all of their rights and all of this. So that's what I mean with don't just do more products, do better. If you don't do better, you shouldn't do anything. And that's not fashion. So my issue is that even though I work in the fashion world and I am a part of the fashion industry, a lot of the things that we do are not fashion, because we don't do the classical seasons, and we do put a lot of focus and weight on the whole transparency thing and Danish sourced material things. But you also cannot work without looking at some of the trends, because then you will fall behind. But it's back to the parameters. I'm going in circles now, but it's back to the parameters that you're measuring yourself on. Mine are quality and long-lasting products. And so then if there's a trend right now there's a cowboy trend, right, with frills. So probably you won't want to wear that shoe in 3 years, because it will be embarrassing, because everybody wore it 3 years ago. So then that's a trend I won't do. So I will try and stick with the classical trends, the ones that I can see you wearing also in 10 years.
Can you walk me through a time in your business in Roccamore where it was like a tough time and the business was close to not falling apart, but it was a tough time, right? And how did you manage to save it from there?
Well, 2 years ago, we came out with the worst yearly books we've ever done. So the annual book had minus 7.7 million, which was a hard hit for me because we've always made money in Roccamore because nobody wanted to fund it. I only had my Kickstarter. Then I had to make money, enough money for it to fund itself. Then along the way, I got investors because I could prove that what I did was right. But that wasn't until it was a success, or at least like the business model was successful. But then we wanted to grow faster than we could. And also we wanted to grow 3 months before Corona. So we just opened everything, a new store in a new country, and then Corona hit, and it ruined everything. Of course it did. And it's a horrible cliche to say timing was wrong, but oh my God, timing was wrong. And so a lot of money went down there. But in the journey of setting up the company to be ready to expand to another market, I had sort of just added on a lot of costs. So not just people, but just overhead in general. And there was just all these costs and these automations and all of these, consultants and extra softwares and all this random shit that was being set up that cost money because we needed it to scale. But then we didn't scale and we still had the same cost structure. And that's what drove some of those minus 7.7. And so we had a very, 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 very long process, me and my financial manager, where he printed every expense down on paper that was more than 50 kroners. And we went through it. Just like literally from A to Z, went through every expenses we had at Roccamore that was more than 50 kroners and figured out if we need it. And if we don't need it, then get rid of it. And when can we get rid of it? If we do need it, can we then negotiate the price, or can we automate parts of it, or can we put it outside of the company so we're not liable for yada, yada, yada. And then we went from there, and then we managed to turn the books. So last year, we made a profit again. So we're on the right way.
Well done. Well
Thank
done.
you. But that was really tough. And
it sounds like it's also Corona, right? It hit everybody like...
But it's just such a cliche to say, oh, my stuff didn't work out because of this stupid disease that came all over the world. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like the biggest excuse in the world. But it's also sort of true.
yeah. But it also shows that timing is everything, right? Timing
really is.
What would you say is the best money spent in Roccamore? Like, what's the part, that you find where you spent money on something and the kind of return on investment was highest? Not just money, but also like awareness and products and manufacturing.
I think but that's a ridiculous answer, but I think the best money spent, maybe it's not so ridiculous. We'll see. The best money spent is on a psychiatrist to me. So I go every week. I've done that for about 3.5 years now. Every week I see a psychiatrist for about an hour, and I go through all of the issues that we have at Roccamore and all of the issues I had being a leader. Because like most entrepreneurs, I didn't have leadership experience when I built the company. And like I said, I didn't even know that I built a company, right? It was just sort of, we'll do this and we'll just move from there, and I'll kick in doors and we'll see what happens. And so I'm very, very good at running fast and kicking in doors and getting stuff started. But I'm not very good at making sure that everybody's on board and everybody's okay. And the leadership management style, I never learned that. I was a boss in Italy, and with, emphasis on boss, because there you're not a leader, you're a boss. And the way that they work around in Italy is just, you don't want to replicate that because it's a hierarchy and it's tough. And you're just supposed to do what I say because I said it. And if you ask a question, I'll fire you. So it's a horrible, horrible work environment. So I don't have any training as to how it should be. And I didn't know much about being a good leader. And for a very long time, I thought that I was supposed to be friends with the people who work with me. And that will cost you a lot of sleepless nights and create a ton of stupid situations, because you're not supposed to be friends with the people who work for you and with you, but you are supposed to not be an asshole. So how do you level that? I don't know if it's best spent, but I think maybe it is, because the money that went into her went into me being a good leader, that went into the team being happy, that went into making sure that we have a revenue and a profit. And
I think also that's one of the things right now that is starting to turn, but still it's slow. That is the focus on mental health.
Yeah.
Especially in these big companies and stuff like that. Especially in the leadership, because then it kind of tumbles down towards the lower employees if it starts from the top, right?
Definitely. But you want a willingness to see it. And then I think what most people haven't, yet realized is that you want that psychiatrist to work with you before things go bad.
Yeah.
Because if you have to spend all of your time repairing shit that you broke, then that will take a long time and you will lose a lot of people in the way because you broke shit. But then if you manage to get that person on board before you break the stuff, then you can actually make a really big difference both for yourself and for the other people around you. But you shouldn't wait until times get bad.
Social media has like kind of changed the field, right, in marketing. Totally. How do you approach it?
In the beginning, it was a playground because they didn't yet have the algorithm designed or figured out or whatever. So it was more of you would get tons of reach for nothing. I used to do these posts where I would say, okay, so we want to do a new shoe. What shoe do you want? And I would co-create with the people. And I would get like 5,000 comments on an organic post from a company. And then I would sit and go through those and I would draw up examples and I would put those up. And then again, people would vote for it. And that was right around the time that all these different reactions came out. So before they just had the thumbs up, but then all of the reactions came. So then you could vote, right? So I could say, if you use a heart, you vote for this. And if you use the funny face, you vote for this and so on. Yeah. Which again gave tons of traction because Facebook wanted you to use those reactions. So if you did, it would benefit the post and so on. So it was fun. It used to be, it started out as a fun place to be because there was so much feedback. Anyway, it got really big really fast. Then the algorithm exchanged or it developed and just changed the way that it works. So it was impossible to figure it out. And definitely you wouldn't get a lot of reach anymore unless you paid for it. And even if you paid for it, it was really hard to understand what made a difference. So we have Meta and we have Shopify as a platform. And then we used to have Google Analytics. Now they've shut that down. But so when you had those three, if I took my sales numbers on all three platforms, I would have sold 5 times as much as what I was actually selling. So they all claimed the majority of the sales. They were like, oh, that came from us. And that came from us. Like the email said that came from us. And Facebook said that came from us. And Google said that came from us, right? So figuring out what really came from where became impossible. And so you spend a lot of money you threw a lot of money into this black hole of social media because you didn't really know what you got out of it. You could see if you compared it to the other channels because you always had the comparison, but you couldn't see the actual value. And I think right around then, I just sort of lost my motivation for it. And the more it became sort of an obsessive me world for everybody involved in social media, the less fun it was. It used to be about community. So it used to be about, let's meet somewhere and do something fun. In my case, design a shoe. And that was fun. But then it became self-promotion. Like, see what I did this weekend or see who I hung out with or see where I vacation or whatever shit or see what my daughter did. And that's just not inspirational for other people. I really don't care where you have your vacation. It has nothing to do with me. Or what your daughter graduated with. Like, that's family news. That shouldn't be social media news. And so it's uninspirational. And I lost interest. And I think today, I don't use social media. I have an account everywhere because I need to for work. I need to be able to log in. I only use my LinkedIn. And even that, I think, is boring because they changed the algorithm again. So you are supposed to do something every day or every second day. Otherwise, you won't get any reach out of it. And then that's just not fun because I have a life. That sounds horrible. But I mean, I can't sit there and do something every second day that is well thought through and well argumented and actually makes a difference and will inspire something in other people. I can't do that. I can do that maybe on a weekly basis if I'm good. And sometimes on like 12 day basis, right? So like the content that will come out of me if I have to do something every second day is just crap. And then I would rather not do it.
Yeah, because then it's less quantity and more quality, right? Compared to...
Yeah, that's what I would...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Compared to putting out crap every day, right? Then it's like, okay, why do it? Right?
Because you want to promote yourself, but then the game changed, and that's not the game I want to play. I don't think the self-promotion is interesting. I think the conversations and the community and the discussions and the exchange of opinion is interesting. That's another thing. There's no longer a lot of nuance. You can't discuss things. It's more of somebody should get, beheaded over this. So if I post something that I think is interesting, people do not want to discuss the topic. They just want to find somebody to blame, and then they will want to yell at him or her, which was never my intention. I don't want to drive any heat towards any person because that is not fun. But that changed over time. You can't talk about things anymore because it's not community-based. It is individually based, and it's all about me, 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 me.
So what do you think today is the best marketing channel out there?
Offline.
Offline.
Yeah, you can pick whichever kind you want. We have great success with small events. It is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of hours. And when you measure it, it seems ridiculous that you would spend this amount of money and this amount of time and resources on 20 people. But if you get 18 of them to buy, then that is well worth your time, because you got them to buy on the first touch point, in some of the cases at least. Whereas if I'm trying to get you to buy online, it will take me anywhere between 10 to 30 touch points before you buy. So it's a much longer journey, and it's a much bigger investment. So I think offline is really undervaluated. We also do TV ads. That works sort of okay. We launched a big collab with HBO's White Lotus series for season 3, and we did TV ads for that, and it actually worked better than I thought it would. So it turns out that even though it's streaming, people will purchase the cheapest version of it, and so they will get the ads along the way, and so that actually still works. And Flow TV, I hear, is quite good for ads. They're expensive, but it's good. And then we do bus stops and newspapers, like offline ads. That works really well too. But you can't do it without the online. You need the online.
Yeah.
So again, we could discuss, who owns the sale. Is it the newspaper ad, or is it the Meta ad that you saw? So who is to, celebrate for this person having bought? That is a very long discussion, but I believe we couldn't do it without the offline.
Yeah. So if you were to start a new business today, right from today, what business would you start? In which industry? How would you do it?
I wouldn't, first of all, because I know what it takes now, and it is much harder than I thought it would be. And if I'd known, I don't think I would have done it. I would have done something else that was much more scalable, much faster. So if I were to start a new business, it would be one that didn't have a product. But the problem is, it wouldn't make me happy, because I don't like working with something where I can't see development. I want to see the product that I'm making. I want to be proud of something that I put into the world. So that would never fit me. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. I would do something that is not product, like production minded. Because, if we're late on a deadline, it doesn't matter. It doesn't depend on me. I can't do an all-nighter and then I fixed it. I can just sit and look at my computer and wait for an email from production, and I can't do anything about it. They take the time they take. So I think that's frustrating. I would also probably do something without people. Not because I don't love my team and the people that I work with, but it took me so long to get here. And it took me many, many, many years of not understanding how you hire well before I understood it. And now I know, and now I'm good at it. But I don't think I would make that journey again with a different company. I would rather just do consultancy or add consultants to the company, or do like external work, because then it's easier to improve fast and learn.
Yeah. Because the product industry, it is a tough industry, right? And also like you depend on a lot of people and not yourself, compared to something like a service or online products also. I like IT products.
It just doesn't give you the same feeling. I know it's a product, but it's not.
It's not a physical product you can hold, right? It's like the creation, giving something to the world, right? Creating something physical you can hold. Yeah. It's another feeling, right? It's totally different feeling.
Exactly.
So now we'll have like a rapid fire round where I'll ask you either this or this, and you just answer which one you think. So we start off like coffee or tea?
Coffee, always.
Lose all your business knowledge or lose all your business connections?
Knowledge. None of them, but knowledge.
If you had to choose one, knowledge. Early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
What about classic or bold style?
You also need both, but if I have to pick, classic.
Success or peace of mind?
Oh, peace of mind.
Tactical planning or gut instinct?
Gut instinct.
Social media marketing or the traditional TV newspaper marketing?
Well, I would say the offline marketing.
Offline, yeah.
Yeah.
Invest in stocks or invest in yourself?
Both. You have to say both. Because you can't not invest in stocks. That's stupid. But you also can't not invest in yourself. You should. I have 3 people that I go to every month, and if I didn't, I would be a mess.
Sum up your entire career in one word.
Stomach feeling. That's 2 words, but
Yeah, that's fine.
Intuitive.
Yeah. Intuitive. Finish the sentence. This you can answer a bit more. Success is.
Success is, what is success? I always say that we are not a success because we're not done. I feel like success is being done and walking away. It's like you're closing a door and you're leaving something out there that you made probably, but you're done with it. So I think success is, being done. It's the opposite of development.
If you could have dinner, sit down and have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be?
Damn it. Okay, 3 people for dinner. Dalai Lama, because I really want to figure out this whole passive way of living that is supposed to be peaceful and drive happiness. Well, that would never ever happen, but what if you could convince Trump to do better in the world? That's probably impossible. But also, especially if you bring those 2 to dinner, that would already be a problem. So let's not have him ruin the mood. Then Donatella Versace, because she was one of the first women in the fashion industry to actually build something. She took over from her brother who was murdered, and she never really got the recognition that she deserved. She built that company. And she did it all by herself. And she was known as a ridiculous party girl who was all made of plastic. The last part is true. She is all made of plastic, but she's also really, really smart. And I think that would be interesting to talk to her. And my great-grandmother, because I never met her. And we share our middle name. Her first name is my middle name, Antonie. And my mother always said that we were the same people. And I would like to see if that's true.
Nice. Sounds like a nice dinner.
Yeah, so Trump can't come. It's
come.
a crowd now.
It'll be too much, yeah. When people look back at your legacy...
There's no legacy. Come on.
Okay, what do you want to be remembered for? As a person, as a founder, as a individual?
I think I want to be... I don't know if I want to be remembered for it. I feel like that's so self-indulgent, but... I just really want to be a good person. I really try to be a good person. I'm very loyal. I'm very respectful. And I care a lot about treating people well and correct. But I also have a huge temper and this crazy-ass rebel who lives inside of me. So I will get myself into situations that I'm not supposed to be in. And I will accidentally yell at you when I'm not supposed to because I got so frustrated about something that I was very passionate about. But I hope that people can see through that and understand that that's part of me, but that's not who I am. I really care about people being well and being happy. And I spend a lot of my time in here making sure that everybody on the team is having a good life.
Yeah, me too. I'm the exact same. Is when I love something, I can get a little bit too...
attached to
yeah,
it.
too attached to it. But in my heart, I love everyone, and that's my one focus, my number one focus. So for the final question, imagine you could talk to your 20-year-old self. Mm-hmm. What is one piece of advice you would give her?
Oh, so when I was 20, I was working as a bartender in the south of France. I went there because I thought I wanted to be an anthropologist, and then I figured that was really boring because they only read about other people in the books. They don't go and meet them. And so then I quit university and I went to the bar and I worked there. And I had fun. That's also sort of anthropology, working at a bar. But I was very occupied with trying to be something that I'm not. I remember I grew up in a circus, so I'm very good at circus stuff. And I remember being embarrassed about things that I was good at. So this was the time where Flair had just come out, which is this sort of juggling with bottles that you do as a bartender, and it looks cool. And I could do that because I used to juggle, but then I thought it was embarrassing to have been somebody who was in a circus and who could juggle. So then I pretended that I wasn't able to do it. And then I thought that the men around me needed to have like confidence boost or they wouldn't like me. So I also pretended to be quite a bit more stupid than I am, because then they could explain things to me and then I could be doe-eyed and cute and be like, oh, is that true? Oh my God, is that true? And it came to a point that I really couldn't sit with myself anymore because I felt so fake. And I had to stop it, and I did. But I wish I would have stopped it earlier, and earlier on learned that everybody's good enough the way they are, and you are enough. You don't have to change yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Corporate Ball, and a special thanks to Frederikke for joining us today. And on that note, remember, nothing is impossible. If you believe in it enough, it will happen.